happy to present this paper. This paper, as you see, it will be published in Habitat International as part of a special issue on self-help. You see here that this is the foreword of Ana Tibauyuca, which is the vice president of the Habitat.
And why is it like this?
Because I received a scan which was like this. So this is actually the idea to highlight the role of self-help in meeting the poor in housing provision. Because in our world it's very difficult to get housing for most of the people. And this is in the World Urban Forum Dialogue of Equal Access to Shelter. So my research questions are very much linked to this. So these are the contents. I will talk chronologically about progressive housing in Peru. I am a very chronological person. I like to present that way. And then I will show the latest policies, and I made a calculation about where is the money going, and what's happened. So this I made thinking that there will be a lot of PhD Chinese who don't know where is Lima, but they are not here. Anyway, Lima is here at the coast, not in the highlands. So this is the introduction. What is progressive housing? Well, you know that in third world countries, in poor cities, there are a lot of people who don't have the money to buy their houses as we do here in the richer countries. So what they do is just they invade land and they progressively build their own houses. So it's a kind of self-construction in land that most of the time is not yours. So sometimes it's public land from the state, sometimes it's private land where there are conflicts. But all this is linked to the problem of accelerated urbanization. In Peru, this is very clear. We had a demographic transition, which is actually, by the way, for the whole Latin American continent, subcontinent, we would say. Some countries were faster. Argentina, southern countries were faster, but most of them, they began this demographic transition in the 40s. So in the 50s, these people emigrated to the cities, and there was this huge housing deficit, and most of the states during that time didn't have money to buy, to build for the poor. Some of them did. In Argentina, Perón, for example, built a lot for the poor. In other countries, less. I think in Brazil they also built high towers. Well, in Argentina that was the case. They built high towers and they were so luxurious. They had parquet, and they say that the poor coming from the countryside didn't know, and they took the parquet and put to fire the kitchen. So, you know what the Argentinians say.
Parquet is also parquet. In Dutch?
Parquet, yeah.
The wooden floor?
Yeah, the wooden floor. Yeah. So, then the economy of Peru has been terrible during decades, but in 2002 it began to grow. So, and this, in combination with the new housing policies, has made a real construction boom. There's a lot of work for architects, so if you don't have work, you can work to do when you can. Yes, so my research questions are, well, what about what's happening? How has been the evolution of this progressive housing? In a way, I say this because it was like we were the inventors of this. We were not, of course, but Turner was inspired in Lima and in Peru in general to make his theory about progressive housing. So, but ultimately what interests me more is Is there a better access to shelter than before? So, the local situation in the 50s, you will see in the next photos how it was. But in 61 there was a new law. It was a very progressive kind of law, which for the first time in the history legalized these informal settlements. Before that, and this is taken from Peter Hall's Cities in Civilization, it had a chapter that was titled Turner Goes to Peru, and he said, before that, academic wisdom stated that these kind of areas were no-go areas, were doomed and terrible places. But Turner changed this issue. And this was with the things he was seeing in Lima. This is the way that people build when they invade a piece of land. Because it never rains in Lima, they just can live for months in these kind of huts which are made of straw. So,
It never rains in Lima?
No.
we don't know we don't know what is an umbrella or a raincoat.
So we don't have to talk about snow too?
Oh, never.
It's in the tropics. Raymond.
Yeah, but rain, you know.
But it's subtropical.
Yeah,
It can be cold, but it doesn't rain. So well, this is a scene from the air. This is from a book from Caminos and Turner. He did in MIT in 1972. And this is one of all these areas where, of course, you see these are the hills, and in the flat part of the hill, but this is steep, but not so much. Huh? So in this part, all these people, settled, but as you see, it's very niches, huh? Very neatly. They respected the same kind of grid that they had seen in the formal sites. So this Spanish grid of very orthogonal streets was respected in all of these barriadas. Not only that, the people who build their houses, this is the normal, this is in the beginning, this is what we saw. Already they made a border between the land, and little by little they build. As soon as they can put, this is the way with bricks and concrete, as soon as they can pay the concrete slab, then they go one more, and this is maybe they finish in only 2 floors, but normally they go to 4. So this part was individual, but also all the rest of the neighborhood was done communally. And this is very much linked to most of the people here from the highlands, where they're very used to work communally. So after all these years, what has happened that it's that all the periphery you see here on these borders is because these are the mountains. All of this has been occupied. We call the cones, North Cone, East Cone, and South Cone. And the formal city is this part. And most of the people live in the informal homes, which are not so bad if you compare with the kind of informal areas in Africa or Asia, because they are not so dense. They have, enough area. So what I did is to in the different eras, what I did is to put which were actually the progressive housing approaches. So in the Barriadas law, this was the idea. So the existing ones would get a improvement of the physical part, but also the legal part, so that the people could get land titles. And they said, well, we're going to make new neighborhoods for the poor people, but the government never had money to do this. So this, because here you see, well, the main different